Hello, dear readers of my book ABC of Truth and the viewers of my YouTube channel v.kulanov. Today it's going to be a headshot to the Second Reich. I started writing this chapter on May 9, 2020. I was watching an old Soviet movie, Old Men Only Go to Battle, on TV. Suddenly, I had a lump in the thread feeling. It's been a hard work for me to create this chapter. I think at this moment I have already gathered enough information. You know, it's too difficult for me now to surprise you. You already know a lot. I suppose your outlook has changed a lot after you saw my movies. If you've seen my early videos, you understand how our culture has been replaced and substituted, and you know who did this. But what I'm about to tell you now will put you in a deep and lasting shock for the rest of your life. What I'm about to tell you now will change the world forever in the near future. So let's talk about the tarot cards and all believers' icons of RUS before the Nikon reform. I have recently finished my long and hard work of searching for the right icons по правильных икон, based on my grandfather's descriptions. Today, old men only go to battle. Now some official reference information. The tarot cards is a deck of cards used since the middle of the 15th century in various parts of Europe for different card games. Since the end of the 18th century, tarot cards started to be used also for the fortune-telling. There are numerous legends around the origin of the tarot cards going around. Stop. Read this official nonsense for yourself after you've learned my information. For a start, we will compare tarot cards to the icons of RUS using the names of modern icons of Orthodox Christianity and the misinterpreted and destroyed old believers' icons of the real old faith. You do not know yet many of the real names. The images I will use here are still the old believers' icons. These are the icons that I have found and restored by myself. Let's take the tarot cards of Rider Waite, one of the most popular designs of the tarot deck. It was designed by Arthur Edward Waite, a famous researcher of Freemasonry, Kabbalah, and mystical teachings. He was a famous member of the Hermetic Order Golden Dawn, another Freemason who knew the truth, but he preferred to make money on the misfortune of the whole country's people and culture by his stealings and hypocrisy. Let's get started. After I tell you the card's name, I will list its characteristic described in the tarot textbook, but this does not mean this information is correct. Sometimes it coincides partially, but there are some places where it's just a frank lies. It's necessary to know what the astronomy is and how it differs from the astrology to perform the correct interpretation of cards. Cards' images are a real astronomical tool, not just an astrological bogus. Next, I will cite the misinterpreted modern and old believers' icon revealing the essence of the misinterpretation. El Spicer, the zero card of tarot, Joker, the creation of something from nothing, incarnation, existence. I have presented this icon to you many times, as if it was a miracle of the Archangel Michael emergence. I have told you in detail about this icon, about the chapters, about the gravestones of RUS, about Spicer, about the mountain Dura Dira, and about Pirates of the Caribbean Sea Joker. The right branch of the Fool or Dura is Leca Caper, and the left branch is Nufus. A card without a number means either empty or fullness, emptiness or fullness. At the beginning of the deck in a row it means zero or emptiness, and at the end it means fullness. This is the cap of the fullness or the bottom of the emptiness when the cards lie in the deck. Spicer means reincarnation. Reincarnation is not a faith, it's a physical fact. For reference, there's the real Gang River and the real Mandala Mountain. Jan Cresta, the first card of Tarot, the magician, self-consciousness, awareness, will, male, vitality, the beginning of Jan. Apparently, the icon holy image of the Savior, not made by hands, depicts Jesus. In fact, the icon name is Jan Cresta, Jan Cresta. This is an uncreated creator, the King of Heaven. It has nothing to do with the modern understanding of God. The word God means the creature from above. On Old Believers' icons, he was depicted in a face with a red and black eight-pointed star, the Savior or spas. The traces of this concealed spas can easily be found on various Old Believers' icons posted on the internet. As a rule, the lower rays of the star are not depicted. Yan-Yin is a stage of the original cosmogenesis, a cyclic deployment of the universal existence of the pre-Christian authentic Hresta Yan-Yin RUS. You already know it. Antipodes world order. The angels are flying on the icon. They turn to each other and they carry an uncreated image on the shroud because it's impossible to depict the Creator anyway. At the first stage, only his face was depicted. The long hair on this icon had been added in the painting. In Hresta is the second tarot card. High priestess, subconscious, memory, intuition, vitality, the beginning of In. All the same. The head is topped with the spas. Only on genuine Old Believers' icons, the angels are carrying the image of In, and they are turned away from each other. The icon is called In Hresta, uncreated Sophia, the Queen of Heaven. Yes, there is still such an expression, Queen of Heaven. But according to the laws of the modern church, this is impossible because there is only one God in heaven if we believe the church. A beard had been added in painting. Just Google by yourself Old Believer uncreated spas, and you will see that on the old pre-Nicanor Reform icons there's a beard added in painting, or long hair, or woman's face is mutilated into a man's one. It's very easy to find icons where the paint on the face has fallen off or where they dishonestly added beard to the woman's face when painting. A man in Rus had never worn long hair and a woman, respectively, never worn the beard. Later, icons were depicted also with the body, but with the spas, a star on his head. In was depicted with an uncovered head. Attention! The two icons are called Hresta Yan and Hresta Yin. Hresta means to carry. That is, they carry Yan and they carry In. So we can see Yan-In on the icons. The main word here is the Creator, a physical creator like in everything else in the world. The Creator, that is the creature from above. I had already described in my book The ABC of Truth how the Yan-In Hrest had turned into Christianity that we have today. Okay, fatherland, the fourth card of Tarot, emperor, order, logic, rule, restriction, civilization, earthly father. Supposedly it corresponds to the icon Jesus Christ as in the spas, a fortress star. Without it, the right icon is called Father, Fatherland, or Father in the Savior. At the top of all icons there is only young Hresta depicted, the King of Heaven, or In Hresta, the Queen of Heaven. Their heads are topped with the spas. It can be restored during the old icons' restoration. In other faces of Old Believers' icons, the cross is added in the painting. And this is no longer a secret. Mother, motherland, the third map of Tarot, Empress, creativity, growth, fertility, nature, Earth Mother. And here the Jewish approach won the tarot cards and the Empress was above the Emperor. The third. Remember that Jews, or Yevrei in Russia, mean female lines. It corresponds to the icon of the Virgin Mary. The right icon is called Mother, Motherland, the Rod family In, the Mother of God and the Blessed Destroyer, the Queen and the wife of the Tsar, the Governor and the wife of the Governor, and so on. Female pirate, Caper. It is depicted as a fortress in a star, the Motherland in the spas, and sometimes without it. Remember the Savior called the Polar Star and the Fortress Star. On the crimson cape of the homeland there are mandalas depicted. the miracle of Mykola, the Metropolitan Archbishop, the fifth card of Tarot, the high priest, hierophants, spiritual connection with the god or goddess, teacher, morality, institutions, church. Here is a tragicomedy, which is more like a comic tragedy. It is clear this icon is allegedly of Nikolai the miracle worker, but according to the Hristian concepts, Nikolai had a girlfriend and her names were Yerisandra or Alexandra, Malksi. Nikolai on Old Believers' icons like Yerisandra were depicted with mandalas on outer clothing. On one of the icons I found the proof it was not the ISHS, Jesus Christ in the Russian language, which was actually painted on the icons, but Maxi Christoshi instead. That is, in the first pair of letters is MS, not IS. Later I will show you the proof of how M had been turned into I, so correctly it's Maxi I Christoshi. The Hresta S means to carry the light. Malka is a small angle ruler, that is, the angle of light carries light. All astrophysical instruments is just heresy, res in the Russian language. Res means the knowledge of control. Remember what I wrote you about Honi. Mandala and Honi are the same, heresy Malksi. On the Alexei the Metropolitan Archbishop icon of Moscow, it is also written Metropolitan or Metropolit in Russia. I will tell you what it really means. Metro is a ribbon that hangs around his neck and hangs forward. It has a line divided into different sections. Later they started calling Mitra the doctor's cape on this head, the white wimple. I have already told you about the globe on the head, which was taken away from the Apostle Paul. So Mitra means measure. This word has been slightly substituted. That is, it has an ordinary ruler of various measure marks on his neck. Hence the word Mitrapolia, which means measure cut by the borders of lines. Mitropolia as an institution was the guardian of the calculation of the metric system. Everything is remarkably simple here. With time, they started calling this metric system nonsense or heresy in the Russian language. The word chudo, miracle, means do chushi, up to the nonsense, in the Russian language, on the verge of fairy tales, so to speak. The correct name is miracle named after Kola, Mykola, the Metropolitan, and consequently the heresy Maleksa, Yerisandra, the Metropolitan. Hence, in the Russian language there is almost no female gender of the professions. Doctor cannot be a female doctor. The small angle ruler of light, Maleksa, means small baby, less molecule, milk, mollusk, and raspberry. The antagonism in each icon is the heresy of the Metropolitan and priest, and the second, the copper medi of the doctor and the sister of Tsin. Russian word medicine, medicine. Remember, medicine means copper and zinc. So where did they throw out of Tarot and Torah, Alexandra, and the Metropolitan? Again, everything is very simple. Any pre-Nikonov reform icon of Alexis, the Metropolitan of Moscow, is Malex, the Metropolitan. One of the icons still bears her name, Malksi. Malksi was corrected for Alexei, and they painted beard, mutilating the woman's face. Search it on the internet for yourself, and you will see it. Every old believer's icon means Alexei Malka, the figure, hands, hair, in some places. They even didn't correct the face. All is female. Only these guardians of the new slave Nikonov reform agreed to wear long hair and women's cloth, just to be the reverence in robes, which in Russian means a likeness. Shania, love, the sixth card of Tarot, lovers, choice, the ability to distinguish good and evil, one against the other. Here it is important to know the Russian language. Shania means happiness with a deep love. Lovers, Lubovniki, go from the word Lubov or Annie. Lubov is spelled correctly with the word U in Russian. I have already told you about Lubyanka. Remember how and why you spell the letter U with small ribbons on the top. Hence the word suzheny or married. Lubyanka means narrow penetration in the craft. This card actually depicts two antagonisms of lovers and Lubov. There's an icon Shania Lubov. The icon depicts the family towers and the tower of the bride boat. We are talking about the ancestral towers of the family continuation. The bride goes into a strange family. Christians perverted this icon, calling it Virgin Mary conception, having redrawn the boat tower into a bed. I mean, the bed was in the middle of the street, so nothing embarrasses these perverts. Urkaline is the seventh tarot card, chariot, wheel, initiation, transition to an adult state, direction, movement. There is such an icon, allegedly Ilya the Prophet on a chariot of fire. Everything in the world is inappropriate. Christians call the red paint fire, like pagans are burning. But the paint can be erased and it's fake. This was an on-the-spot drawing. For you to understand this icon, you need to fully read my book. The same thing concerns other icons. In particular, I told you about the movement of the skate on the steel pegs of the altar of the RUS temple. I told you about the movement of Kula Ra on the Kremlin's Paskaya tower clock. Yurka means nimble, Ilya means a line, a stick, a hand. Devils in Kula Ra is the annual movement of the line along Kula, or the daytime movement of Kula Ra along the line. Double antagonism. But here is one more thing. This is the difference between the cards, chariot and tarantas. And tarantash is the correct spelling, which means drag Teya. Either you go by yourself or you drag Teya. This is the real meaning from the Russian language. And the Teya can be anything or anyone. On the ancient Tarantas sarcophagi there are two samsara wheels on the side. You can draw parallels. It's either a line of movement or kula. The correct name of the icon is Urkaline. Jesus, Isus, is the 8th tarot card. Strength, inner power, control over your animal nature, productive and creative use of your passion. There is such an icon, supposedly Jesus Christ, good pastor. Pastor means tirit or rubbing, and past or mouth. We put it together and we give sermons. In fact, the icon has been changed. The girl on the icon had been repainted everywhere by Jesus. I wrote that Jesus was a simple man, a priest, who was killed by the Jews, who created the Second Reich against themselves. Jesus went brave to his own death like all the Catars. He wanted to prove to all the illiterate people that the reincarnation was real. The reason of his death had been perverted by saying he voluntarily went to death to accept all our sins. Now Christianity prohibits reincarnation. There is just an internal paradise or hell. So bring the money to the church if you want to go to heaven. So the real name of this icon is Jesus, the truth-seeking essence in Russian language. The truth between strength and wisdom. Here, the soft power is the right definition. Water sharpens the stone, or carrot and stick approach, which may be the antagonism and the soft power. The Yomma of Darkness is the 9th tarot card, a hermit, self-knowledge, the search of wisdom and the maturity of the doctrine. This was the icon where Ilya was in the darkness, in cave. Christians called it Ilya the Prophet in the desert. Here goes the proverb, keen eyes are small gain in the head with our brain. Christians have different names for the darkness on different icons. Hell, desert, grave. Seemed like how one can pervert the icon Ilya in the darkness. So here's the desert for you. Once I saw an icon where nuns were painted who were pushed to Ilya by the Red Army soldiers with their butts of buttocks in a cave. The icon was called Alapaevsk New Martyrs. The icon had been painted in Vrublevskaya classics. And the Red Army on the icon? What? How about the millions of people that you've killed? Do you think there were slaves in Nikanov Therefore, the antagonism of this icon is to counteract for the desire for knowledge with the intentional ignorance. Yomma is the witch of darkness in the modern folklore. That's right, just darkness. The word proyom, for example, in Russian, aperture. So the aperture in the Yomma pit or Yama in Russia. And that's right, not Yama but Yoma. Forager is the 10th tarot card, the Wheel of Fortune. Understanding of cyclicality, changes in life, turning point. And in order to understand this card, you need to know the real icon. As always, everything has been described very sparsely and very primitively. There is such an old believer's icon, Christophora. Christians could not understand and describe it, and started to smear the face of an unknown beast into a human one. Forager means carrying the four. I have already written about it in my book. Eye like an eagle, health like an ox, lion's grip, angelic clue. This is depicted at the fatherland and motherland in the corners of the spas. Sniff like a dog, fish in the water. And here's the Russian proverb: if you don't know where to cross the river, stay on the shore. There's a lot of Russian folklore in this icon, but in modern Christianity only the Punisher may give out such benefits. Keep on praying and bear taxes and indulgences to the church. Archangels, 11th tarot card, fairness, universal karma, not the personal one, justice, balance, honesty, clairvoyance. It has a bad description anyway, except for the word clairvoyance. I wrote an entire chapter about the regressions in the past life in RUS. There is an icon of Archangel, Michael and Gabriel, and old believer icon of the angels of the ark. Me, we in Russian, K.L. and Gabriel. In this case, Gabriel is a female name. You know in great detail how you can enter the state for vision. So, Michael is an ale with benefits. Gabriel has no benefits. Lying goes from the word lie, a simple drunkenness which destroys everything. On the old believers' icons, somewhere there is a glass ball with different bits and pieces, most of it was painted with the face of the Son of God. Glass ball is a predictive tool. 12th tarot card, Hanged, a revolution in thinking, inner work, a hanging state for the sake of the inner growth. There is also such a Christian icon, crucifixion of Jesus Christ. But there were no old believers' icons before the execution of the Eric in the 12th century. The icon appeared only as a memory of the real man who died at Jewish hands. This icon does not have any meaning. The 12th tarot card is the antipode of the 13th card. Separately, it makes no sense, you just had to put your Inquisition cross there. The image appeared when the images of the Torah existed for a long time. Freak Foreigner is the 13th tarot card. Death, transformation, great changes as a result of the internal work rebirth. There are such modern icons as beheading of the Forerunner and death has mowed down. And here, the key to the real name of the old believer's icon is not the Forerunner anymore, anticipation for the current for use. For example, the Cassian Day. The Cassian Day has been described in detail. Just in 4 years, one has to add a day to predict Easter, with 21 days from February 28. 22 is too much, burned out and died. So here's the Forerunner, the total responsibility for your own head, the start of the man's summer. Freak or urod in Russian means no longer belonging to a family, rod, the narrowing of the family, either by murder, seclusion or solitude, prison, captivity, tethering. Terror, hanging, means seclusion, punishment. The Trinity of the Creator is the 14th tarot card, moderation, balance of body and mind, alchemy, integration of energies. Christian icon Holy Trinity, Old Believers Trinity of the Creator. This icon is antagonistic to the world in the combination of three hypostases, light, triplicity, among other things. Earlier it was believed that light comes from the sun, stars and the eyes. Hence the expression, the light of my eyes. The triplicity can be expressed in many ways: matter, light, mind, primordial, primogenitor, first element. For example, in the Russian linguistics of the words, they wrote Navi or Yavi, Prav. All about this icon: 3 angels, 3 Qs, the cup on the columbarium sarcophagus, and the card in the cup as a result. Columbarium is a unit, a beginning, a blessing, a birth through destruction. The sarcophagus is the part of the king, the absorption in the next life. Earlier in Russia, they simply poured out ashes to the ground, and it was obligatory. And they put spacers concrete under which there were the 2 ends of the crimson thread of the ribbon tied from above by the bow where the stick goes out. The bow is a surprise called by the Creator. Then the small walls were built under the concrete. Then sarcophagi were made under the ashes with an obligatory bow opening, and then with the bottom under a corpse without an opening, and finally they started to bury. The most correct option is the first one, which was allowed with a columbarium without a bottom and with a hole. Burying without burning was not allowed. In other words, the Creator is matter, the mind, and the light. After the soul flies out of the ashes of the human body through the hole in the sarcophagus, the crimson line of the Creator, where the next body will return. What is it? The soul is the subject not only to its own kind and does not belong to the Creator. The Creator prepares only the conditions for the life of the soul. Trinity is celebrated on the 50th day after the real Easter. It means May the 9th. The Christian interpretation of the theology and Christology of the triple union of this icon does not make any sense. Here is another interesting thing. The Creator has returned the holiday of ancestors' memory to us, foolish people. But at what price? Apparently, this is the price for our betrayal of our homeland and fatherland. This is for the fact that we fell under these Reichs. That's what we got from them, and apparently we will get it now, because the Second Reich is in our temples and the ignorant life in the First Slavic Reich. There is nothing else in our brains, but it was like this. So keep listening. Я вольная Nikidia is the 15th tarot card, the devil. It is the struggle against the material world and the liberation from it on their own, the restrictions imposed on themselves. There is such a modern icon as Nikita beating the devil, demon killer, something like that. But as always, this is a lie. In the real Old Believer's icon, Nikita holds a sword that is not a demon killer but a demon crusher. Correctly, the icon is called Я вольная Nikidia, the winner of the devil in Russia, where the devil is Да, я вольный, yes, I'm free. The antagonism of this icon is in the Я вольный, I am free, or in Я невольный, I am not free. The conditional image of the Diavol, devil, no need to change the folklore. Yishna, the Tower of Rod, family, 16th tarot card, the Tower, lightning, inspiration, destruction of artificial structures, revelation, enlightenment. The real Old Believer's icon is almost impossible to find, but I found it. It is called Yishna Boshnaya Road, hence the tower, height, or Boshnya in Russia. It shows the construction of the tower, which has a family. The son holds the wheel of samsara on Q. The father is on the top of the tower and he spins the wheel. I wrote a whole chapter about the star fortresses that provided the rise of the ark in the apocalypse. Antagonism here is simple: to ensure the continuation of the family or just do nothing. As always, Christians had perverted everything, raising themselves up, calling it a pillar, and painted a whole picture. The Second Reich invented it. I am talking about the priests and Slavs now, and I wrote a whole chapter about it. Zvezda is the 17th tarot card. Star. Inspiration, hope, supreme powers blessing, youth energy recovery, Christian icons, the supreme blessed stars, and the good silence. The Old Believer's cross yarn in icon, star building or building, hence the word Zvezda or Zvezda. When the light from above or outside is S, when it is from inside, it is Z. Either you help or you are helped. Antagonism is simple here, a guiding star of the light of the soul. We remember how to orient on the stars with the cross of the Apostle Andrew, and we know how to use the Kula Ra. The moon and the sickle, the 18th tarot card, the moon, the meeting with your deepest inner I, integration of subconscious. Here you can see many perversions of different kinds, icon of the Mother of God, joy of all wise sorrow. The icon of the Mother of God is a life-giving spring, icon of the Virgin Mary of Guadalupe. Those perverts invented a lot here. The icon of the Virgin of Guadalupe has not been painted over, and it remains in it. We need to remember now, I told you, the bosom, the lunar grabbing, which was used in the temples to observe the moon's motion. The right version is Guadalunskaya, of course, and this is the smallest part of the perversion. It was necessary to hide the meaning of the oppositioning of the sun, and they succeeded. All believers' icons were of two kinds. The maiden sitting with a crescent in her arms. They turned all this into a bowl, poured water there, and named it a life-giving spring. She washes herself and everyone drinks. On the Old Believer's icon, one and at the same, like Guadaluna, full length, a crescent under her feet was covered with clouds. This action marked the joy of all who sorrow, slipping humble petition notes into everyone's hands. For more, of course, there was not enough brain. It cost me a lot of effort to find a true Old Believer's icon, but I found it after all. It correctly described what was happening. In order to understand everything, you need to know basic astrophysics and be able to work with the instruments. At night, working with the cross of the Apostle Andrew, it would be impossible to determine the coordinates by the stars back on the midnight position of the sun at noon. I wrote how to use the cross. If the moon is near and shine, look at the night sky. No stars are visible next to the moon. The icon shows a ship lying in the water, stuck to a stone. It is a simple plain image. Everyone is waiting for the moon to disappear. If you're not able to work with the astrophysical device, it is impossible to describe the icon correctly. The interpretation of tarot is a total rubbish, and even more is in Christianity. The icon is called moon and crescent. Sometimes it's not quite correct, moon crescent, Selena. But we need Seluna. The sickle captures the spikelets written with U, soulmate, married, sujani. That is why in Tibetan and Mongolian mythology the moon is the dragon, the ruler of the water element. You see how easy it is to understand even the mythology with astrophysics. Read about sea tides and moon tides by yourself. The sun and the moon are like the living and the dead, like yang-yin. With the moon there is no movement, with the sun there is at least a short visual movement without determining the coordinates. The icon is the antagonist to the sun, St. George the Victorious. The icon itself is an antagonism. If it is possible to determine the coordinates or not, well, it all depends on how much it blocks the needed area in the star sky, completely or lights it up. If it is completely, the solar and the lunar eclipses occur only when the moon is near the intersection of the orbit with the ecliptic. These points in the celestial sphere are called lunar nodes. The period of their ecliptic circulation equal to 4 to about 18 years and is called the Saurus, or Draconian period, a good name, and it has multiple meanings. Geo-Ki is the 19th tarot card, the sun, the acquisition of integrity, the ascent to the light, the ability to know yourself and be yourself. There is such an incorrectly interpreted icon, St. George the Victorious. According to the canonical hagiography, he suffered during the great persecution under the Emperor Diocletian and was beheaded after 8 days of the severe torment. One of the most famous legends of his miracles is the miracle of the snake. They have a miracle everywhere. So much lies, so many people had been killed by this Second Reich. The old-fashioned icon is called Geoki, abrasion Q, a ray from above to the ground. In the book it is written about it in detail. Geoki Freeben, the sun rises in 4 places on the same day of the calendar, in between this day, shifting a quarter forward. So every 4 years an extra Cassian day is added. The sun is moving not in its interval, and it's added. I clarify, the action takes place every year on Christmas, New Year, and before the beginning of the man's summer. The eye of the omniscience is just a rising sun in the perspective of the Nevsky Prospect. Everything is described in detail and filmed on video. The sun helps to determine the coordinates by the stars, because the directed ray of the Apostle Andrew at noon point to the ecliptic, and when turning to the rear around the axis with the polar star at midnight, they will indicate the star ecliptic, just by the presence of which the coordinates are determined. The main thing is not to interfere with the moon at this time. The serpent on the icon is the ecliptic, the image. The icon in the antagonism with the moon and with itself either simply indicates the ecliptic or also warms brightly. All the interpretations of the tarot cards is just a complete nonsense. Tarot cards is a tool, but it had been twisted and slandered. Nobody is interested in learning astrophysics. Everyone is an ignorant and illiterate. Judge Fate is the 20th tarot card. Court, awakening, self-judgment, transition to a higher level. There is such an icon of modern Christianity as the Last Judgment. Read the interpretation of this icon by yourselves if you are interested. I managed to find an icon that is not damaged. This is the old believer's icon, Judge Destiny, Doomsday, not night but day, joy, which is good to get. Ra means eternity. Nothing terrible is depicted on the icon. Most important, there are balls of thread on it. Then these threads pass through the samsara. Coming out of samsara, they pass through their ancestry. And only then this thread holds the scales. The meaning of the icon that the future life and reincarnation is taken by the family and not by some lord. I wrote which way you would look in the eyes of your ancestors. Christians do not accept reincarnation. They had to intimidate people, so they hid samsara and birth threads, appointing the one who is eaten at communion as the judge. The antagonism of this icon is in this scales. Either you will be a worthy successor of your ancestors, or you will start again with the paramecium caudatum. Cultura Aclintica is the 21st tarot card. The world, reunification of everything, merging with the universe, space dance. There is also such a twisted icon as the Lord's and the Devil's Eye, so here we are. But somehow the Second Reich has not defined it. What is it? An eye or a pyramid? Or a spyglass polluted by Jesus? The correct name for this icon is Cultura Aclintica. The eye of the lion creates along the lines of the Cultura. All the circles on the icons have stars inside. Angels, seraphs, and cherubs are the same thing. The lines of jazz into the ecliptic along the cross of the Apostle Andrew. That's why the real flag of Russia gazes. At this icon you will see for the first time in your life the waterway, RUS. I think it is clear to everyone that in order to move along the waterways of rivers, seas and oceans you need a cross. The cross of Apostle Andrew and Cultura. Cultura is an ecliptic, a large circle of the celestial sphere through which the annual movement of the sun, visible from the earth, relative to stars, occurs. Accordingly, the plane of the ecliptic is the plane of Earth rotation around the sun. Briefly, it is the plane of Earth orbit. We have finished with tarot cards. You've got 21 twisted cards and you've told that there was a complete tool. Do you believe it? And what about all the 33 pleasures? Have you ever heard about this number? In the real old face of Russia, there are 33 icons together with L. Spicer, and 33 images of pleasure is the proof for this. In the Hinduism of Rig Veda, correctly Rig Veda, Ra from above, together with 33 of its deities, there are also perverted Russian icons. Learn, see for yourself. I personally have no interest in digging into lies. Look at how the word order is translated from the Georgian language. In order not to get confused, I will continue to number the icons and tell you that the card number has no sacramental meaning. The number of the icon is not important in any way. It is necessary to know astrophysics. Now the most important thing, 33 is the real Russian ABC book. Remember your ABC where the letter corresponded to the image next to the drawn picture? Well, this tradition comes from the ancient teachings of RUS. Each icon as an image of letter, an image of an action. All these Rig Vedas came from the science of adding of words yan and in. I have already written about the letters of the oral canon, which are divided into male and female and a few common. Icons are also divided the same way. Read about the disease tier of iconostasis. These are the twisted and perverted notions of the divided letters yan in. The above icons bear the image of the presented letter first in the correct name. Write them to yourself, according to the alphabet of the oral canon in 2 ranks, and try to read in different directions.
И попробуйте прочитать в разные стороны.
The Slavs with their bluff book rest. This is just ridiculous. The First Reich did not even exist. Everything was invented by the second one. An inventor can't live long. Sooner or later, there would be disclosure. The following images of icons by Christians of the modern faith are hardly ever used. This suggests that the authors of Tarot conspired with the Masons that were the destroyers of RUS. I will continue, also representing the name of its image in the first letter.